It's really a great pleasure and an honor to have you, Professor Roy. And thanks a lot for accepting to be part of this wisdom research presentation. And I'm also happy that we are bringing out here this theme, bridging, let's say, incorporating aspects of neuroscience in our series. Centered around wisdom. Okay, so a few words about Professor Roy, for those who don't know him. So Professor Roy is a theoretical physicist and who worked initially as a professor of physics and applied mathematics, okay, unit at the IISC at the Indian Statistical Institute in Calcutta till 2014. Okay, I think it's important to know this background. And then he joined as the chair professor at the NIIS in Bangalore in 2014. So he has published like more than 250 papers in all these peer-reviewed international journals and 16 research monographs and edited volumes published by Clover Academic at Springer, right? This world scientific publisher. So what are his fields of interest? They include foundation of quantum mechanics, astrophysics and cosmology, brain function modeling, and higher order cognitive function, modern science, and ancient wisdom. Right? So Professor Roy collaborated with Professor J.P. Vigier in Paris at the Institut Henri Poincaré, Professor Bo Leonard at Halfen Laboratory in Sweden, Professor Menas Kafatos at George Mason University in US, Professor Ralph Abraham at the Department of Mathematics, University of California, and also Professor Rodolfo Linas, Department of Neuroscience at NYU Medical School, right, in US. Yeah. So with all this, and we're all waiting impatiently for your presentation, Professor Sisir. And now, all is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much for including me in your seminar series of lectures. And we have some preliminary discussions before with you and also Rajini. Today, I am going to tell you why we need to study stages of meditation and traditional wisdom, and why, of course, it is challenged to neuroscience. There is a story, I mean, behind these kind of things. Before that, let me tell you recently we have published a book, The Varieties of Contemplative Experiences and Practices. It's an edited book. I am one of the editors, and it's published by Frontiers in Psychology. There we have discussed in general what is contemplative practices and its importance in cognitive science or even in decision making or management itself. We use the term contemplative. I mean, normally this term is used in the field of meditation research, and there is no consensus regarding the definition of contemplative practices. In fact, the term contemplation is somehow broader than meditation, since it includes practices such as different types of prayers or energy movement practices, which is not exactly described in meditation in some of the contemplative traditions. And a distinctive feature to many contemplative practices is a focus of attention. Now, what can neuroscience learn from these kind of contemplative practices? I mean, a lot of technical imaging techniques have been developed, and people try to understand what is happening in our brain. I mean, among the billions of neurons in the brain, when you put a subject under the scanner like EEG machine or MEG or fMRI. So essentially, people trying to understand the neuronal correlates of the brain when somebody is practicing a type of meditation techniques. Then, if you look at the scientific articles on meditation, this is very, very fascinating area. There is a survey. If you look at the survey, that year 1990 and 2016, scientific articles on meditation, in 1990, it was around 500. And now, 2016, it is 4,000. So, articles on meditation per year, in 1990, it was 25. 2016, it is 400. Now, if you look at the 2023, it's exponentially increasing. The people are more and more interested in scientific aspects or neuronal correlates for different type of meditation practices. But there are some issues which we should try to learn or try to understand before going to any kind of meditation practices. What are those issues and limitations? I mean, only recently, a few people are trying to understand these kind of issues, but we think this is very, very foundational issues. Like the international protocol for meditation research, they normally take or choose two groups of people, one who are untrained meditator, I mean, who did not practice meditation before, and another kind of people, another group of people who are called deep meditator. So the issue is, how do you define a deep meditation? Is there any criteria? Yes, international protocol is that who has completed at least 10,000 hours of meditation practice, they can be considered as deep meditator. Well, if you look at traditions, especially Indian traditions, then there are many people who did not practice such kind of, I mean, so long duration of time, but they become enlightened. One good example is Adi Shankaracharya. At his very early age, he became enlightened. There are other people too, Ramakrishna Paramahansa or Ramana Maharshi and other people. So, is it possible to find a kind of criteria so that we can say this person or this subject is a kind of deep meditator? This is very, very fundamental issue. And there is, I mean, if we choose a particular person, he or she, a subject called subject, we should try to find out the baseline where he or she stands before going to the scanner. Then another very important issue comes, like if a same subject, I mean, I will go later on that when you do meditation practice, any kind of practices, because we have a lot of traditions. If you practice any kind of technique, then there will be some anatomical changes in the brain, like plasticity and some other kind. But if the same subject, same person, goes for different type of meditation practice, what happens? Say, for Ramakrishna Paramahansa in Kolkata, he told that he has practiced all kinds of meditations, but he reached to the same state. Now, we are looking for that kind of subject who practices at least more than one or more than two types of techniques. And what happens to his anatomical structure of in his or her brain? We didn't find any kind of subject. Now, then what is the scientific criteria? Or can we find a scientific criteria by which we can say that this person has a baseline of this kind of frequency band, or baseline of, how deep his meditation? To understand this kind of issue, we took insights from our traditional wisdom. One such criteria is that in our traditional wisdom, it is clearly written, they describe what they call stages of meditation. And we have taken three main sources of our traditional text. One is Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. It has different chapters. If you especially look at the Samadhi Pada, it describes in details the different stages of meditation. Then you come to the Buddhist scholar, Kamalashila, 740 AD. The name of the text is Bhavana Kram. Krama means sequence. Bhavana is a kind of meditation. Stages. Bhavana is stages. So Bhavana Kram is different stages of meditation. And there is another famous text called, in Jain philosophy, Tattartha Sutra. There, they also describe the different stages of meditation. And now, if you carefully look into these three main texts, then you can find there are a lot of similarities, but there are some differences there, like different type of insights we need to understand the different stages of meditation with the help of modern science. Now, in general, you can divide the two main categories of meditation or samadhi. One called sampragyata samadhi, another is asampragyata samadhi. So, if you look at the etymological meaning of sampragyata samadhi, this is that which is accompanied by reasoning, reflection, ecstasy, and pure eye-sense. And asampragyata samadhi, when all the vrittis in the mind field are stopped, only the samskaras of nirodha remain as a residue in asampragyata samadhi. Again, there are different types of vrittis. In general, there are 5 types of vrittis: valid cognition, wrong cognition, imaginary cognition, sleep and memory. Asampragyata is also known as acognitive samadhi. Now, okay, we have on the one hand the traditional wisdom where they have described different stages of meditation or samadhi. On the other hand, in our neuroscience lab, we have our neuronal activities in the brain, and there are brain waves, different type of brain waves, which can be measured through different type of imaging machines like EEG, MEG, fMRI, etc. So what happens during meditation, these brainwaves like alpha, beta, gamma, delta, these brainwaves become more and more synchronized. And with the machines, we can estimate how, or we can look how these waves are being synchronized. You can have a picture. I mean, if you look at different type of meditation practices like focused attention, open monitoring, mantra recitations, loving kindness or compassion, then different cortical areas of the brain are being activated, and different waves, like in some cases alpha waves, some cases gamma waves, some cases delta waves, they dominate. Because these techniques we are using, like focused attention, open monitoring, mantra recitations, they are associated with different type of cognitive activities. Now, we have a synchronized wave dominates in a particular type of meditation technique. And how to measure the synchronizations? I mean, there is a term people normally use, coherence. Actually, we do not measure coherence. What we measure, the degree of coherence. And there is a particular mathematical formula used in physics, especially in optics, that how to measure the degree of coherence for a particular wave like alpha waves, gamma wave, or delta wave. So this degree of coherence is a good measure regarding the synchronized aspect of the brain waves. So this coherence, I mean, just look, you look, that particular cortical area of the brain is being activated. And there is a dominance of particular wave, say gamma wave, in the prefrontal lobe. So now you put two electrodes at two different places and look the phases of the wave are being correlated. So from these correlations, you can measure the degree of coherence of this gamma wave or say other waves in other type of techniques. This is fine. So to characterize the stages of meditation, coherence might be one of the measure, or degree of coherence might be one of the measures, but there are other fundamental issues come. Before that, let me tell you, when we say coherence, there is another term, we say noise. What is noise? I mean, we scientists and technologists, we know very well what is noise. But here, in case of meditation research or in brain function, what do we mean by noise? If you look Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, it starts with one sentence called Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Means Chitta Vritti Nirodha means Nirodha is cessation. So cessation of the perturbation of the mind. Like you try to focus, say, on a particular object. You try to concentrate on that particular object or particular deity. Then what happens? A lot of other thoughts will come and try to disrupt it. And we say these thoughts, other thoughts which are coming, apart from the thought of that particular object or deity, these are called noise. Why? That very definition of noise we have taken is unwanted variation. So here, as you want to concentrate more and more on a particular object, then you have to get away from this kind of noise or unwanted thoughts or unwanted variation. So, in a sense, this meditation is also a noise reduction process. Now, if you look at the noise, what types of noise are there in the brain? Because neurons are being activated, and in the brain there are various types of sources of noise itself. Before that, let me show you one small video of the last legend of the oral tradition of Kashmiri Shaivism, Lakshmanju. He was trying to describe some meditation in a very simpler way. And let us see whether we can learn something about the noise when we are going to meditate.
Anybody who is thinking of one who is meditating upon God consciousness, go on meditating, and at the same time he thinks this meditation of God consciousness is very sweet. And this is one thought. This is temptation. Temptation is there, it is Maya. And this thought focused him to other things. Then this Parabhairav. And afterwards it goes, there was something like that. He goes, this samskara, it gives move to another samskara and a samskara, and he is on inferior plane of world.
Meditation is weak.
Not meditation. He is dragged away from God consciousness by and by. This is the Maya. You must be so alert and so you can't remain idle. Meditation you have to do with vigor, with alertness. If alertness is a bit lessened, go on. It will carry you to ordinary course of being. You are just like dogs in the street. There is no God consciousness. So this is trick. This is trick where there is Shaktipada. When there is Shaktipada, you are focused. Kirtam, Mudam, Vikirtam, Ekagram, Niruttam. These are state of minds. The state of mind are 5. If Vikirt, Mood, Ekagra, and Nirut. Kift is for yogi. These are for yogis. Kift. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. I had been there. I'll go to some other shop tomorrow. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Oh, Denise is very good. Good disciple of mine. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Like.
Okay. So what I was trying to show you that Lakshmanju, Swami Lakshmanju, he beautifully elaborated that how some unwanted thoughts come to our mind, and those unwanted thoughts are nothing but noise. And we know in physical systems, even electronic systems, we have, say, in a voltmeter, measurement of voltage, etc., you have this kind of disturbances called fluctuations or noise. Now, you may ask me why you need to understand noise. Because in technology, science and technology, to get the better performance of the systems, we need to, or in telecom systems, we need to understand, or we need to reduce the noise. But there is one big discovery happened in nonlinear systems, that even if there is a noise at a certain condition, it gives rise to coherence or synchronization. And that is very much applicable to biological systems as well as in brain and meditation. And there are various types of noise, of course: thermal noise, short noise, 1/f noise, or pink noise. And of course, who are more interested, they can go for more mathematical representation of the noise. And you can have a look that we can represent the noise, white noise, then pink noise, and red noise. I am telling you this kind of things so that you can have a visual effect of what the white noise means, pink noise means, or red noise means. But this has profound impact in meditation research to understand the stages of meditations. And what are the main sources of noise in biology? It's physical noise like thermodynamics and quantum theory, sensory biology, sensory noise, cellular noise, or motor noise, etc. I am not going into details what is the meaning of noise in biological systems, because we have published a book. You can go into that, and there it's a very recent book, 2022. You can go into that and you can have details of analysis. This is the book we have published in 2022 by Springer, Noise and Randomness in Living System. Okay, fine. Now, let us come to the coherence and EEG data. Because with the help of EEG data, we can try to understand the various stages of meditation. Now, coherence is a measure, or degree of coherence is a measure, I told you, and there are two different degrees of coherence. One is called degree of spatial coherence, another is called degree of temporal coherence. We have a definite mathematical structure for this temporal and spatial coherence. And we have also a spectral density of this kind of signals, which is being generated or induced by coherence. So, what we can get from this mathematical formula, that we have two degrees of coherence. One is spatial degree of coherence, another is temporal degree of coherence. But what is the importance in case of meditation research? Because meditation is not only a state, but it's a process. As it is a process, you need to understand temporality. And up till now, if you look at the EEG machine all over the world, they have a built-in programs where they have, in the program, they have introduced spatial degree of coherence. I mean, if you take two electrodes in two different places, and you measure what is the phase value of the two electrodes and what is the phase correlations. So this gives rise to spatial degree of coherence. Now, during process, if you take the evolution with time, then you need to consider one is called temporal degree of coherence. And this is very, very important, in understanding the temporality of meditation process. And I have not seen any paper all over the world or from any lab where they consider this temporal degree of coherence. But this is very, very important in understanding the stages of meditations. Not only that, we have certain, mathematical formula where we can say that there are two terms, that characteristic time scale and coherence length. What is characteristic time scale? I mean, how long a particular person or particular subject be in a particular meditative state. This is very important. And not only important, in our traditional text, especially in joint text, I have already mentioned, they mention that a particular person can stay in a particular meditative state for certain duration of time. And we can mathematically calculate from the data what would be this time scale, and we can compare with it. So people might say, well, we have a coherence, we have a degree of coherence, and we can characterize the stages of meditation. We say, no, this is not sufficient condition, because the states of meditation are found to be discrete in nature. They are not continuous. But degree of coherence is a continuous parameter. Its value lies between 0 and 1. So, what are the other conditions by which we can say the states are discrete? And we can characterize through our scientific methods. These are the challenges. And we found some kind of solutions, of course. I mentioned you Tattartha Sutra. There is a joint text where they said that meditative state cannot last beyond 1 intra-hour, less than 48 minutes, although it can be resumed. This is the characteristic time scale in degree of temporal coherence. So we can make a comparison. Now, when I say that degree of coherence is not the sufficient to understand different stages, because stages are discrete in nature, then we found another particular characteristics that is called noise analysis. What is meant by that? This is very recent analysis. People normally who are working on normal EEG data in any kind of problem, not meditation research, they usually neglect this kind of aperiodic signal in EEG data. Aperiodic signal is determined by the spectrum called 1 by f. F means frequency. If the slope of the 1 by f, the spectrum changes, then we say aperiodicity changes. Up till now, up till 5 or 6 years before, the neuroscientists, cognitive scientists, they tried to discard this aperiodic aspect of the signal in EEG data. But there is a very interesting development in neuroscience from USLA in USA, and also to University of Tübingen in Germany. They made a collaboration, and especially from USLA, Bradley, he became curious that we are discarding this kind of noise or 1 by f aperiodicity in the signal. So let us see what they are, whether they are connected to inner brain working. And they found amazing result. They developed algorithms, and it is possible to separate this aperiodic signal from the periodic signal. And they claimed this aperiodic signal slope changes because of the aging of the people, because of the disability of cognitive aspect. So they're definitely connected with the inner workings of the brain. And now we found the trick that we have a degree of coherence, of course, which is changing from 0 to 1, as well as look for whether there exists kind of 1 by f type of aperiodicity. I mean the slope of 1 by f. And already a very preliminary results have come out. They say that when the people are in rest, for both untrained people and trained meditator, this aperiodicity does not contribute any significant result. They say in both the cases may be the same. But we are looking for the long-term meditation data, how this aperiodicity changes. This is related to its cognitive aspect, decision making, all kinds of things. So this is a new area by which we can really characterize the different stages of meditation. And we have some mathematical formula by which we can calculate the coherence and noise, etc., etc. Then I'll end up with a few things like, in meditation, there is a term called dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. So, according to Apte, the root meaning of dhyana is like contemplating or ponder over or think of. And in the Buddhist text, term did in fact originally indicate set of 4 successive attainments or absorption in which meditators' mental contents are gradually attenuated to a point of concentration free from disruptive mental activity and emotion. So this is nothing but dhyana is also a kind of process of reducing noise. So dhyana is basically a noise reduction process. Even in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, if you look at the famous statement that it is oneself which one should see and hear and which one should reflect and concentrate. For by seeing and hearing oneself and by reflecting and concentrating on oneself, one gains the knowledge of this whole world. So this is basically, in modern scientific term, it's nothing but noise regulatory or noise reducing process. And samadhi, there are different types of samadhi itself. So samadhi is derived from the verbal root dheya, to means to put, to join, to unite. And shama means together. A, around, which masculine suffix ki. So samadhi, placing around together or simply bringing together. This means single pointedness, thereby excluding states of concentration that are not directed toward liberation. So we can say that same noise or unwanted variation is reduced in this process. So samadhi can be broadly classified into 2 classes, sampragyata samadhi or asampragyata samadhi. And there are a lot of problem now arises in case of, or you can say nirvikalpa samadhi or savikalpa samadhi. In case of nirvikalpa samadhi, you don't have any kind of form or anything. But the issue is whether nirvikalpa samadhi is a kind of cognitive state or not. We are not very clear. For that, we need to take insights from our traditional wisdom. So here, the main point is that even nowadays in decision making, management, or cognitive ability, we need to understand the stages of meditation and the role of noise in the brain. This will help not only in brain research, but also in management issue. And for that, we need a kind of data, EEG or MEG data for long-term meditator, and doing some statistical analysis, as well as the knowledge of modern neuroscience. So this is one of the big challenge to neuroscientists, how to do it, and what are the sources of this noise. And whether we can understand these sources and reduces this noise, so that a better decision-making process can be put forward. Thank you.
So thank you, Professor, for your excellent talk. The forum is open for question answer. So if you have any question, any thoughts, please unmute yourself and we have Professor Sisir here.
Is it okay if I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
Great. Thank you very much, Professor Sisir. While you were talking, several ideas came to my mind. And one was about Kashmiri Shaivism and its focus on energy, which led, and I was interested to hear that you have background in quantum foundations, and it made me think about whether we should be thinking about noise or energy, and whether there's some, because just based on my own experience of meditation, it feels often less like noise in my mind, but too much energy most of the time, which also led me to think of the concept of kind of a superposition of energy and a Hamiltonian kind of measure of it. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on whether there's some way forward in a scientific sense, so that we can understand better the neuroscience of meditation and contemplation through that kind of approach.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting questions, I must admit. But if you look, Kashmiri Shaivism or Advaita Vedanta, I mean, there is some similarity and there is some dissimilarity, of course. But at the ultimate level, when you say pure consciousness, I mean, Advaita Shaivism, they say pure consciousness and principle of Maya. On the other hand, in Kashmiri Shaivism, we say pure consciousness, which is energy also. But this energy is not like thermal energy, chemical energy, or other kinds of energy. And moreover, at the ultimate stage, there is no concept of space, time, and causality. If there is no concept of space, time, and causality, the issue is how can you describe with Hamiltonian or that kind of mathematical language? This is a big issue. We are trying to understand and trying to get some insights. We have a constant touch with Kashmiri Shaivites and other very learned people in India, but still we are we get only in the manifested stage. When the universe manifests, then you can start with those kind of mathematical.
Okay, yeah. No, it's a very interesting answer. Yeah, and you're right, it is qualitatively and I guess quantitatively different kind of energy that the Kashmiri Shaivist literature really talks about. But yeah, there's a lot to think of, and I often think about the work that Stuart Hameroff has done on I guess the quantum physics of the brain. So yeah, thanks for that answer.
Yeah, Stuart is a good friend of mine, but we had a long debate, and no, he's not a physicist, neither a neuroscientist. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I have one question. So though I do not have this background of brain science or neuroscience. But what I have understood so far is we are saying that a particular state of meditation will create a different kind of noise in the brain, or there will be some pattern. Am I right? If I have understood correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, so is it possible to see the reverse engineering of that? Meaning, if somebody is subjected to certain kind of waves, maybe by hearing it or something, by hearing aid or something, if certain kinds of similar noise is created in my brain, would it transpose me to that meditative state immediately?
Yeah, this is very, very interesting questions. I mean, very crude analogy is, there is a problem called tinnitus in the hearing problem. So as if you hear a lot of things inside the ear, though there is nothing outside. This tinnitus issue, what people do, they put one instrument on your ear, so there is a noise cancellation device, and you can get some relief. But tinnitus is not a disease; it's a manifestation of any kind of disease, because tumor and lots of neuronal disorder, etc. So what you are saying, yes, it is possible, but in that case, we have to have some clear idea what is the noise spectrum associated with the stages of meditation. That is yet to be done. And that's very important. I mean, maybe in some cases pink noise, some cases colored noise, brown noise, some cases maybe white noise. So we need to know that from studying lots of EEG data from EEG or MEG machine.
Okay, that's interesting, because I came across one experiment where people were subjected to hear white noise, and they shared that they moved to a different state of experience. So that is why I got intrigued.
No, this is part of our this kind of project, but we need a lot of analysis, and
Yeah.
really honest data, not manipulated or any kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Anybody else would like to share thoughts or any question for Professor Roy? Okay. So thank you so much, Professor Roy, for sharing this very interesting research which you are already doing, and thanks to all the participants who joined us and participated in this seminar. Next month also we'll have some interesting seminar coming, talking about spirituality in Indian context, and I wish that you all will again join us in the next month. On the same email ID through which you registered for this seminar, you will get the update for future research seminars. So please keep checking those queues and join us, and we will be happy to host you and have a conversation going on around wisdom and leadership development and allied areas. So thank you so much. Thanks once again. Thank you, Professor Roy, and see you soon.
Thank you so much also.
Thank you.
Thank you.